Welcome, everybody. My name is Peter Baines. I'm the Executive Director of the New York State Conference of Mayors, and we are here today as part of our annual winter legislative meeting. I'm going to turn the podium over to our president shortly, but this meeting is all about our membership cities and villages statewide coming together in a unified voice to represent their communities, their cities and villages, to make sure that the state gives these communities the tools they need to succeed, because if these communities don't succeed, our state cannot do that. We have a list of speakers today who are all officers of the Conference of Mayors, who are going to touch on several key topics related to the state budget. To open up our commentary is our President, Gary McCarthy, from the Mayor of the City of Schenectady. Gary.
Thank you, Peter. I want to thank everyone who's joined us today. And we have 175 mayors here representing the respective number of communities. It's an important time when we get together to try and strengthen that partnership and relationship with our colleagues in state government. Sometimes it's a productive relationship, sometimes it's a little bit challenging, sometimes logic doesn't enter into the discussions. But we're here today to put forth that message that we want to work with our colleagues in Albany. We want to make our community stronger. We want the state to be stronger. And as opposed to introducing individual mayors here, I'm going to call on the Mayor of Corning, and we're going to start and just go around the dais here and have everybody give their name and community.
Bill Bolden, City of Corning.
Who's next?
Rick Milne, Honeywell Falls.
Tommy Dougal, Village of Governor.
Delia Farquharson, Mount Vernon.
Mike Sederi, Village of Medina.
Let's make sure they can hear it up in the Capitol.
Ootson Tyson Francois, Village Spring Valley, trustee.
Mary.
Dan Delano, Mayor of Village Williamsville.
Dan Hall, Mayor of City of Glens Falls.
Mike Krebs, Mayor of Village of Springville in Erie County.
Mayor Hubb Frawley, Village of Angola.
There we go.
Scott Rice, Village of Scottico. Mark Reichman, City Manager, Corning.
Tom Gifford, Mayor of Scotia.
Rob Rollinson, Mayor, City of Poughkeepsie.
Pete Vogt, Mayor of Dansville.
Jerry Mesmer, Mayor of Odessa, New York, and Schuyler County.
Peter Sheeran, Mayor of Pleasantville, Westchester.
Stina Levenberg, Town of Austin Supervisor.
Nancy Seligson, Town of Mamaroneck, Supervisor, Westchester County.
Jerry Fremont, Mayor of the Village of Clyde, Wayne County.
Victoria Garrity, Mayor of the Village of Ossining.
Mayor John Buckley, City of Hornell.
Ruth Ann Lovelace, Mayor of the Village of Hamilton in Madison County.
Paul Pontieri, Mayor of the Village of Pageant.
Mary Marvin, Mayor of the Village of Bronxville, Westchester County.
John Burrell, Mayor of the Village of Ellicottville in Cattaraugus County. Mike Beretta, Mayor of the Village of Owego.
Kevin Neary, Mayor of the Village of Richmondville, Schoharie County.
Patrick Madden, Mayor of the City of Troy.
Rich Wager, Mayor of the Village of Riverside, Steuben County.
Mike Murphy, Village of Dryden, Mayor.
Rich Valenka, Mayor of the Village of Port Chester, Westchester County.
Mo Kelly, Deputy Mayor of Corinth, New York, Saratoga County.
Scott Berto, Mayor of the Village of West Carthage, Jefferson County.
Marty Blackman, Mayor of Brockport, Monroe County.
Bridget McKinley, I'm representing the Village of Ilion, trustee.
Gary Vigliotti, Mayor of West Hampton Dunes, Suffolk County.
Matthew Cook, Village of Geneseo, Deputy Mayor, Livingston County.
Lee McGonigal, Mayor of Tannersville, Greene County.
Tim Rogers, Village of New Paltz, Mayor.
Francis Murray, Mayor of Rockville Center, Nassau County.
Tom Roach, Mayor, City of White Plains, Westchester County.
Paul Worrell, Mayor of Village of Manlius, Onondaga County. Vince DeSantis, Mayor of the City of Gloversville.
Gary Herzig, Mayor of the City of Oneonta.
Philip Wade, Mayor of Bainbridge, New York, Shenango County.
Mike Shannock, Mayor of the Village of Union Springs, Cayuga County.
Mayor Michael Newhart, Village of Warwick, Orange County.
Allison Hunt, City of Corning.
Ben Walsh, City of Syracuse.
Bill Aiello, City of Olean.
Kate Patterson, City of Corning.
Jim Mitchell, Village of Fishkill.
Ellen Palomini, City of Canandaigua, Ontario County.
Rich David, City of Binghamton.
Robert Kennedy, Village of Freeport.
Kathy Sheehan, City of Albany.
A diverse group, a hard-working group, talented individuals who want to add strength to their respective communities and again make this state stronger and better. As part of our message, I'm now going to call on Robert Kennedy, the mayor of the Village of Freeport and first Vice President of the New York State Conference of Mayors and Municipal Officials.
Thank you, Gary. Robert Kennedy, Village of Freeport, coincidentally the second largest village in New York State. And I want to thank NICOM for bringing everybody here together today to show some force for some of the issues that we need to discuss, especially during this budget time. Speaking specifically for Freeport, which is in Nassau County, we were devastated by Superstorm Sandy, and even today we're digging ourselves out. We have over 350, almost 400 homes, zombie homes. Not to mention we spend millions of dollars every year in infrastructure, breaking sewer lines, breaking water lines. We're a direct result, of Superstorm Sandy. Subsequent to that, what do? We get hit by salt, where everybody has this issue with their filing the tax returns now and the limit on tax deductions. Now, the Village of Freeport has increased, mandated every year, medical, dental, eyeglasses, retirement, PBA contracts, CSEA contracts, but yet we've done 6 consecutive years of a 0% tax increase. We haven't received any sales tax last year. There's another debate where the Village of Freeport and 17 other villages now have to sue the county and the towns for the failure to receive any sales tax at all. Now we're talking about a 3% increase in taxes if this AIM funding is removed. We receive over $1 million a year in AIM funding. That, I can guarantee you, will be a 3% increase in taxes next year as a direct result of the removal of that AIM funding to the Village of Freeport. 6 years with no increase in taxes. We're the first village to mandate the use of body cameras on our police officers. We've come up with many, many ideas to prevent having taxes increase in the future. And I again say it will be a 3% increase next year if these funds are removed. Thank you very much.
I'll call on Mayor Richard David from the City of Binghamton, second Vice President of NICOM.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mayor McCarthy. Thank you, NICOM. Very fortunate to be able to talk about the topic of infrastructure. This is a bipartisan group of mayors, and there really is no issue more bipartisan than the issue of infrastructure. And one of the things that we want to focus on is getting more attention to the different types of funding sources for infrastructure, because we believe that there is recognition from the state level. We've seen progress in recent years on this issue, and we believe it's an issue that the governor has supported and that both chambers and both parties of the legislature have supported too. But the primary focus and emphasis has always been on CHIPS, right? CHIPS funding, Consolidated Highway Program funding. And CHIPS is not a silver bullet to address all of the infrastructure issues that face and confront many of these municipalities. In fact, when you dissect a street, the most expensive portion of reconstruction is what you can't see. It's what's under the street. It's the water and sewer lines that are under the street. And we've seen progress in recent years from the state of New York on addressing that issue. And so that is a positive step forward that this group is very appreciative of. Now, CHIPS does address the top of the road, what you can see. That has maintained relatively flat. We're certainly looking for more of an increase so that we can address the many, many miles of roads that exist in our respective municipalities. But one of the more recent challenges that has arisen, and that really is having a direct impact on all of us over the course of the last year or so, doesn't have anything to do with the state, actually. It has to do with the federal government.
with regards to enforcement with regards to ADA compliance on your streets, meaning that in addition to milling and paving or street reconstruction, dealing with the intersections for ADA compliance. And so that is extremely costly. I think it's more costly than many people realize. I'll give you an example just for the city of Binghamton. Our CHIPS allocation is approximately $1.1 million annually. The cost to address the ADA compliance on an annual basis is $800,000. So the money has to come from somewhere, and so what happens is now the state has taken the position that they will not reimburse or provide funding for municipalities that don't address that issue. So that is another extra burden. And so what we want to do is really paint a complete picture on what infrastructure is and what are the different ways that you can help provide relief to respective municipalities. And of course, on top of that, when we talk about infrastructure, it's not just roads, it's bridges, it's parking facilities, it's water and wastewater facilities as well. And we believe that this is a topic where there is bipartisan support in Albany, and it's an issue that we are eager to work with both the governor and the legislature on, because they've demonstrated a recognition that they realize that the strength of these cities and villages, large and small, is investing in infrastructure. It's a topic that exists at the national level. It's a topic that we're seeing progress on at the state level. It is certainly without question an issue that mayors have been on the forefront for a very, very long period of time, long before there were the adequate resources or more increasing resources that we've seen in recent years. So with a unified bipartisan voice, this is a primary issue that we are eagerly looking forward to making progress on this year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor David. Now I'll call on Albany's great mayor and our host city, Mayor Kathy Sheehan.
Briefly address two issues that are in the category of, one is pretty good news for all of us standing here, and that is the sales tax on internet sales. This is an opportunity for us. These are cities that have to balance budgets and already are dealing with high tax rates and high property tax rates, and so when we have the opportunity to capture new revenue, it's really important. And it is very important to stress that this new revenue for internet sales offsets the loss in revenue that we see from sales tax when people shop online instead of at the stores that are in our communities. And so we see this as critically important as more and more people turn to the internet for sales, as it becomes more convenient, as we see the business plans of businesses like Amazon that are getting into the grocery business, as we've seen businesses that are selling cars online. It's critically important that we have a mechanism in place for the municipalities that rely on that revenue to be able to continue to receive that revenue. And so this is an area where the governor is looking at in his budget, sharing that revenue with the counties. One of the challenges of many of our villages is that they do not get that sales tax. So in the city of Albany, we're fortunate. We have a sharing relationship with Albany County. All sales tax in Albany County is distributed on a per capita basis, so it's based on population, and so we will see that revenue. That's not the same for all of the municipalities here, and we think that it's going to be very important that we have this conversation as the state budget is finalized to ensure that all of our communities are protected and that all of our communities have the ability to access the internet revenue. The second thing is the legalization of cannabis. You know, in New York State, really actually of our members, probably 95% of them are under 100,000 people. And so this is an issue that is going to impact our communities. It's an issue that many of the mayors here support, but it is also an issue that we know, based on legalization that has occurred in other states, has resulted in unintended consequences. And so we want to urge the legislature, we want to urge the governor to listen to our voices, to allow us to have a seat at the table to talk about the impacts at the local level and what concerns us. The concerns of the city of Albany are different than the concerns in a city like Saratoga Springs, but they are concerns nonetheless. And we want to ensure that as we look at what has happened in other states, we have a plan in place, we understand the financial impacts, and one of the things that we as mayors are critically concerned about is the fact that at this point, as proposed in the budget, none of the excise tax charged on cannabis would come to our municipalities. We are the ones that are going to have to train our police officers. We are the ones that are going to have to deal with zoning issues. We are the ones that are going to have to deal with those unintended consequences. And not a single penny of the revenue is coming to any of the municipalities that you see represented here, any of the local governments that you see across the state. That's a conversation that we need to have. And that is something that our communities and the people that we represent are going to demand. So we are here with a number of issues that we think present opportunities, and as mayors, we think it's critically important that we have a seat at the table and that we have the ability to convey to our legislators, both in the Senate and the Assembly, as well as to the governor's office, the impacts that we see with internet tax, as well as with the legalization of marijuana and how it's going to impact the communities that we represent. Thank you.
On the AIM issue, which, as we all know, deals with the governor's proposal to eliminate AIM funding for 90% of the villages and towns in the state, we heard from one of our largest villages, Mayor Kennedy in Freeport. We have a member of our board executive committee at NICOM who represents a smaller village who'd like to make a few comments about the impact that proposal would have on his village and smaller villages. Scott? Scott Burrow, Mayor of the village of West Carthage.
Thank you. Villages across New York State provide residents with the most direct, essential, and daily services needed as they continue to come under attack from our governor, who just tries to misinform and shift the tax burden to our local governments. For years, our governor has continued to claim that 10,500 local governments are the reason for higher taxes, which is misleading and false. Governor Cuomo has taken every step to attack the 540 villages and 932 towns and place the blame on the most effective entities in the state. Starting with a flawed 17A consolidation law, which should be revised to make more efficient, Governor Cuomo has been trying to buy consolidation, even though the majority of the voters have rejected his efforts. So now the governor tries to force his desires by proposing cuts to AIM. Local villages for years have worked with neighboring towns and villages to share services, consolidated departments, in an effort to not cut essential services or raise taxes. During the same period, they have seen no increase in state aid, no mandate relief, and a 2% tax cap that was well below 1% for years. Governor Cuomo has been critical of President Trump and says that his changes to SALT are a direct impact on New Yorkers. Well, in my opinion, his proposed cut to AIM funding is a direct impact to the villages and towns in New York State. The most successful and highly rated by the residents form of government. His one proposal will lead to communities cutting services that their residents rely on or instant tax hikes over the 2% cap. The annual increase alone in school aid the past 3 years has been more than villages, towns, and cities receive annually in total aid. Stronger schools, active children, safer communities, and economic development all start with local infrastructure. As he continues to cut from local governments, it will have a ripple effect on the future of our schools, economic development, and future generations. The governor should look at our neighbors in Massachusetts or the state of Minnesota who have seen how investing in local governments and increasing state aid has increased their economic development, improved their infrastructure, and lowered their tax rates. The governor must give up on his attacks of local government, start realizing we can be his best partner in economic development, and not only restore aid, but provide an increase. The results will be an outcome he cannot imagine or achieve through his forced consolidation. Thank you.
we'd open up for questions either for the officers or any representative that's here. Perfect. Thank you.